My name is Heather. I was 26 when I buried my best friend and came home to find my parents had sold my car. I didn't think it was possible to lose two parts of yourself in the same weekend. One to death, the other to betrayal. But grief doesn't ask for permission, and neither apparently do your parents. The morning of the funeral felt like the sky had been peeled back, all pale light and no warmth. I wore the navy dress Sarah loved, the one she called Boss Lady Chic, back when we thought we had years to burn. I didn't speak at the service. I couldn't. Her brother did, and when he stumbled over the word was, I felt something in me finally give. I stayed at the cemetery longer than I should have, watching the groundskeeper adjust the ropes around the casket. I didn't want to leave her there under frost-bitten dirt and strangers' schedules. But eventually I drove to my apartment, still in silence, the weight of everything hanging like smoke. Only, there was no car. I stopped at the curb, confused. The spot I always parked in was empty. My building was the same. The bush with the broken stem still leaned against the railing. Nothing else had changed, except the one thing that mattered. I called my dad. No answer. I called my mum. Straight to voicemail. Then, because some part of me still hoped this was a mistake, I walked the entire block. Twice. Nothing. It wasn't until 2 hours later, when I finally reached my dad, that I learned the truth. "Oh yeah," he said, casual as a grocery list. "We took care of it." "Took care of what?" "The car. We sold it. You weren't using it." I stood frozen in my kitchen. "I was at a funeral," I said. He didn't respond right away. Then, "You don't drive much anymore. And we needed the money." "Your sister's meds?" "I bought that car with my own savings. You live in the city now, you don't need it." "You didn't even ask." He exhaled, annoyed. "It's a car, Heather, not a child." "No," I said, voice shaking. "It was my independence, my safety net, my decision." "We're family," he said flatly. "We make sacrifices." I hung up without another word. The numbness didn't wear off for hours. I sat on the edge of my bed, still in my funeral dress, hands clenched in my lap. Over and over, I replayed his voice. We took care of it, like it was trash, like it was nothing, like I was nothing. The next day, I went to the garage they always used. The guy behind the counter recognized me immediately. "Oh, the Honda Civic? Yeah, your dad said you were donating it." "Donating?" "Yeah, said it was a family emergency. Looked rushed." He handed me the paperwork. My name was there, but the signature wasn't mine. It was my dad's, signed over, cashed, gone. I didn't know what was worse, the lie or how easy it had been. I walked out of that garage with one thing on my mind. What else had they taken care of while I was in mourning? I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Sarah's casket and my dad's signature on a form I never touched. Two ghosts, one buried by grief, the other by betrayal. By morning, my body moved on autopilot. I skipped breakfast, threw on jeans, and walked straight to the branch where my dad always banked. The lobby smelled like cheap lavender and fake reassurance. A woman with round glasses greeted me. "Can I help you?" "I need to look into a wire transfer," I said, forcing my voice steady. "Made from the sale of a 2017 Civic. It was recently deposited here." "Do you have a transaction number?" "No, just a name." "He made it in my place." "I'm trying to confirm where the funds went." She raised an eyebrow but typed something into the system. "What's the name?" "Mark Taylor. My father." She scanned the screen, then nodded slowly. "Yes, that transfer cleared 2 days ago. Would you like to see the destination account?" I hesitated. "Please." She turned the monitor slightly toward me. I leaned in. It wasn't my sister's name. It wasn't anything close. The money had been sent directly to a private checking account belonging to Kimberly Ross. I didn't know the name at first, but my gut did. My mother's maiden name was Ross, and Kimberly? That was her co-worker, the same one who'd been helping Dad with his taxes, the one who posted beach selfies with no captions, except champagne glasses in the background. I stared at the screen. "Is this a joint account?" The teller shook her head. "Single access, not family linked." I stepped back. Numb again, but differently now. It wasn't about survival anymore. It was about control. They hadn't sold my car to save my sister. They sold it to impress someone else. I walked out without saying goodbye. The glass doors hissed shut behind me like they were sealing off a chapter I hadn't agreed to write. Outside, I dialed my dad. He didn't answer, again. So I messaged him just 4 words. "Whose account is Kimberly Ross?" No reply. 10 minutes later, I got a message from Mum. "Heather, don't stir drama, you don't know the full story." I stared at the screen, breath caught between a scream and a laugh. They never cared when I was quiet. Now that I asked one question, suddenly it was drama. I sat on the bus bench outside the bank, knees bouncing. I wanted to run. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream until everyone knew. Instead, I opened the Notepad app on my phone, and I started listing everything they'd done without asking. Every time they said family first, while cutting me out second. This wasn't just about a car. It was about how easily they erased me when I was grieving. I didn't go home. I took the long way to my parents' house, 2 buses and a half-mile walk, because I needed time to build the version of myself that wouldn't scream the second I saw them. The door was unlocked when I arrived. My mum was in the kitchen slicing lemons, like nothing about the world had shifted. "Heather," she said with surprise but not warmth, "you should have called." "I did," I said. "You ignored it." She wiped her hands on a dish towel and gave that tired smile she reserved for things she didn't want to deal with. "If this is about your car again, it's not about the car." I pulled out my phone, showed her the screenshot, the bank statement, the name. "Who is Kimberly Ross?" Her eyes flickered, not with guilt, with calculation. "That's a private matter between your father and—" "She's not family, she's not sick, she's not on meds." I didn't say she was. "You told me the money went to help Emily." "It did," she snapped, the lie arriving too fast. "Just not directly." "So you filtered it through some woman's account?" Her silence said everything. I stared at her for a long time, and that's when I saw it, the receipt. It was half sticking out of her wallet, wedged between coupons and a church pamphlet. Glossy. White. I grabbed it. She didn't stop me. It was from a jewelry store. The date was the day after Sarah's funeral. 1 gold bracelet. $1,275. Paid in cash. The name on the line wasn't hers, it was Kimberly's. I looked up. "You let him do this?" "Heather," she said. "Sometimes we have to accept choices we don't agree with. For the good of the family." That sentence. Word for word. My dad said the exact same thing 2 years ago, when they drained my college fund to refinance their mortgage. "You're not a family," I said. "You're a cover story." She didn't flinch, just went back to slicing lemons like I hadn't spoken. I walked out. I didn't slam the door, I didn't cry, but halfway down the block my phone buzzed. It was a new message, from Emily. "You okay? I heard you found the receipt." I stared at it, heart thudding. How did she know? Unless this wasn't the first time. The message from Emily sat in my phone like a hot coal. She knew. Before I did. I didn't reply. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know what she was really saying. Was it guilt? A warning? Or just her way of letting me know I was the last to the table again? I shoved the phone in my pocket and changed direction. The bus ride to the garage felt longer this time. I watched my reflection flicker in the window, half wondering if I still looked like someone with a future, or just the leftover daughter in someone else's lie. When I walked in, the guy behind the counter was the same. Navy shirt, grey stubble, hands that moved like he didn't need to ask questions anymore. "You again," he said. "I figured you might be back." "I need to see the release form, the one for the Civic, the pickup signature." He gave me a long look, then pulled out a file binder. "Technically, I'm not supposed to show this. It was my car, registered in my name, sold without my consent. I need to know who took it." He flipped to the page, slid it toward me. The signature wasn't my dad's. It wasn't my mum's either. It was Emily's. Neat cursive, clear date, same day as the funeral. I stared at it until the lines blurred. "She came in around noon," the guy said, voice lower now. Said you were out of town. Claimed she had power of attorney. She didn't, he shrugged. She showed a document, looked official. And you didn't think to call me? He raised an eyebrow. Lady, she had your same last name and all the right papers. You want to file a complaint? Do it with the DMV. I took a photo of the page, walked out. Outside, the air felt like glass, cold and ready to shatter. My hands shook as I typed out a message to Emily. You signed for the car, you lied to me. 3 dots appeared, then vanished, then appeared again. Finally, I didn't want to. Dad made me. I stared at the words, every muscle in my jaw locked. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I didn't know. Just obedience. I didn't reply. Instead, I walked to the corner cafe, sat at the window table Sarah and I used to share, and pulled out a napkin. On one side, I started a timeline. Sarah's death. Friday. Funeral. Monday. Car signed over. Monday noon. Bracelet purchase. Tuesday morning. Transfer to Kimberly. Tuesday afternoon. On the other side, I wrote one question. Who else was in on it? And why now? I didn't think it could still get worse. But when you grow up with parents like mine, you learn that trust has trapdoors. Some you fall through, others they build for you. The cafe napkin burned in my pocket as I walked to the last place I wanted to be, the mechanic's side office. The guy behind the desk, the same one who gave me the signature, was eating a burrito and scrolling through his phone. Do you still have security footage from Monday? I asked. He blinked. You mean like the camera on the side lot? Yes, where the car was parked. He squinted. I mean, yeah, we keep 7 days' worth before it loops. Can I see it? He hesitated, then shrugged. You didn't get this from me. He led me behind the counter and pulled up a grainy black and white feed on an old monitor. There, he pointed. That's your Civic. Lot 2. We fast-forwarded. My Civic sat untouched until 12:09 p.m. Then, a figure walked into frame. It was Emily, hair in a bun, big sunglasses, calm like she was running errands. I watched as she unlocked the car, walked around it once like inspecting it, then opened the driver's side. Then a second person entered from the right. I froze. He wore a baseball cap low over his face. He got into the passenger seat without hesitation. And then, they drove off. Can you rewind that? I whispered. The mechanic did. We zoomed. It wasn't a perfect angle. But when the man turned his head slightly, I saw enough. The jawline, the way he held his phone, the posture, it wasn't my dad. It wasn't anyone I recognized. And that was the part that made my chest cave in. Because strangers don't ride shotgun in secret errands unless the family wants them there. Can you send me this clip? I asked. He nodded slowly. You sure you want to stir this up? I'm already in the storm, I said. I walked out, clip saved to my phone. On the street, I leaned against the cold metal of a lamppost and called Emily. She picked up on the 3rd ring. You didn't tell me someone else was with you, I said flatly. A pause. Then too fast. I don't know what you're talking about. I saw the footage. Silence. Then her voice dropped. He was just a ride. Dad asked him to come. Who is he? Just someone who helps out sometimes. His name? I don't... Heather, it's not what you think. I hung up, because now I knew the most dangerous thing in all of this wasn't just the lie. It was the fact that everyone was playing roles, and I was the only one who didn't get a script. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I sat in Sarah's favourite park, the one with the crooked bench near the duck pond, scrolling through every photo from the funeral. There weren't many. People aren't eager to remember the worst day of someone's life. But some of Sarah's co-workers had posted group shots. A few tagged me, others I had to dig for. I didn't know what I was looking for until I saw it. A wide-angle photo, taken just outside the chapel near the entrance steps. There were 20 people in it. I zoomed in slowly, and then I saw him. Back left, baseball cap, same jawline, same build, same man from the garage footage. He wasn't looking at the camera. He wasn't with anyone. He was just... there. The timestamp matched the moment I'd been inside the chapel, giving Sarah my silent goodbye. And he was standing in the shadows, Yigoi, watching. I saved the image. Then my hands started to tremble. What was he doing at the funeral of someone he didn't know? Why was he with Emily the next day, and why did my parents act like he didn't exist? I stood up and paced the path behind the bench. My breath came shallow. My legs felt detached from my body. The trees above me swayed, whispering things I wasn't ready to hear. It was almost 9 p.m. when I messaged Sarah's older brother, Luke. "Hey, random! Do you remember if anyone unfamiliar showed up to the funeral?" "Guy in a cap stayed near the entrance," he replied 10 minutes later. "Yeah, thought he was with the catering staff, but he didn't talk to anyone." "Why?" I didn't answer. Instead, I zoomed back into the photo. Something was off. His shoes. They were scuffed black sneakers, ones I'd seen once before. Not at home, not at the funeral, at my dad's office. 2 months earlier, I dropped off paperwork at his building. Dad wasn't in, but a man in those same shoes had walked out of the conference room, eyes down, phone in hand. I didn't think anything of it then. But now it screamed. I went to my apartment, locked the door, and sat at the kitchen table with my laptop. I typed his description into a public registry. Then I cross-referenced it with one word, Kimberly. One result came up. And that's when my throat went dry. The man from the footage, the one in the passenger seat of my stolen car, wasn't just helping out. He was Kimberly's ex-husband. I sat with the laptop screen glowing against my face, every muscle in my body tight. Kimberly's ex-husband. That was the man in my car. That was the man at Sarah's funeral. That was the man Emily called just someone who helps out. The picture on the registry showed him clean-shaven, smiling, unaware that he'd someday be recognized by a grieving daughter chasing her own missing life. Name: Dale Rivers. Age: 47. No priors. Address: unknown. Affiliation: none listed. But next to that, in the cross-linked section, something new appeared. Filed claim. Vehicle loss. March 2 years ago, insured by Kimberly Ross, vehicle 2017 Honda Civic. My blood chilled. The same make, the same year, identical to mine. They'd lost one. They took mine to replace it. And suddenly everything clicked like a lock snapping shut. It wasn't just about money, it was about image, appearance, ownership. Kimberly's ex crashed the original or lost it in a settlement. Either way, the insurance marked it unrecoverable. And now they had mine. I printed the file. I needed to see it on paper. Needed the weight of it in my hands like a weapon. I folded it and shoved it into my bag. Then I called my insurance company. "Hi," I said. "I need to confirm whether my 2017 Civic was re-registered recently or listed under a different policy." The agent took my info and paused. "Actually, yes. There's a pending duplicate VIN registration request, not finalized, flagged for review." "Who filed it?" "Sorry, I can't disclose names." "Was it filed by someone named Kimberly Ross or Dale Rivers?" A longer pause. "I'm going to have to escalate this to our fraud team." "Good. Do it." Because now I had proof that this wasn't just betrayal. It was a transfer of identity. My car, my name, replaced, slipped under someone else's life like it never belonged to me. I walked to the bank where I first saw the transaction. The teller wasn't there anymore. A younger woman in a blazer offered to help. "I just need to verify a check withdrawal." "The one made the day after the Civic was sold." She typed, looked. Her eyes darted up. "It was cashed at a jewelry store. Do you want the merchant ID?" "No, I want the camera footage." Her face tightened. "We don't give out security video unless subpoenaed." "Understood," I said. "But let me ask you something." I slid the insurance file across the counter. "Does this look like someone making an emergency decision? Or a planned one?" She glanced at it. Her expression changed. "I'll get the manager," she said softly. And just like that, the lie started crumbling. Not because I screamed, but because I documented it. They thought I'd disappear into grief. Instead, I was documenting their downfall, one signature at a time. The insurance office was colder than I remembered. Fluorescent, sterile, indifferent. I waited 10 minutes before a woman called my name. Her badge read Delia. Her eyes looked like they'd seen too many lies in too many folders. I followed her into a small cubicle with grey fabric walls and a fake ficus plant. "What can I help you with today?" she asked, polite but weary. "I need to report a duplicate registration attempt on a vehicle I legally own," I said, sliding the printed VIN report across the desk. "It matches my car, but I didn't authorize any transfer." She scanned the form, her pen stilled mid-air. "Where did you get this?" she asked, voice lower now. "I pulled it from your open filings," I said. "I also have photo ID, the original title, and the dealership invoice from 3 years ago." She nodded slowly. "You said someone else tried to register it?" "Yes. Either Kimberly Ross or Dale Rivers, possibly both." She tapped on her keyboard, then blinked, once sharply, like something on the screen just confirmed a thought. "That name's been red-flagged before," she murmured. "Ross." My spine straightened. "For what?" "Attempted reclaims. In multiple counties. Usually small assets. Boats, bikes, used vehicles. Always in someone else's name. One of them was reported as a family transaction gone wrong." "Did she ever get charged?" Delia shook her head. "The paper trail never held. But her name is known. Is the Civic still pending?" She nodded. "It was flagged after your call yesterday. We were just beginning internal review." "Can I see who signed the new form?" Delia hesitated. Then, after another glance around the cubicle, she turned the screen toward me. The signature box came into view. The name wasn't Kimberly Ross, and it wasn't Dale Rivers. It was Heather Taylor. My name, my full legal name, forged in near-perfect cursive, just like the garage release form. I sat back, breath stolen. "They used my name?" Delia nodded solemnly. "They submitted a photo ID too, blurry but passable." I stared at the screen like it might blink and change. "I didn't submit that. I've never even taken a picture like this." "I believe you. But now it's in your system. And that means we can lock it down. Permanently." She started typing fast. "I'll mark it as fraudulent use. We'll escalate to internal legal. If they try again, it'll trigger an alert at state level. Can I get a copy of the forged form?" "Yes," she said. "But be careful, Ms. Taylor." I looked up. Delia's eyes met mine. "People who do this kind of thing, they don't stop at paperwork." I nodded, gripping the printed copy in both hands like armor. Because this wasn't just about stolen property anymore. It was about identity. Mine. And they were erasing it piece by piece. I didn't go home after the insurance office. I took a cab straight to the jewelry store listed on the receipt I found in my mum's wallet. The one I'd tried to ignore while my heart was still breaking. Not anymore. The boutique was upscale, tucked between a wine shop and a florist. Marble floors, soft lighting, and the kind of silence that makes your breath feel expensive. A young man in a suit greeted me. "Can I help you?" I pulled out the receipt. "I'm looking into a purchase made here last Tuesday. This exact bracelet. Paid in cash." He took the paper, glanced at the date and item. "Ah, yes. That was one of our limited gold rope styles. We only had 2 in stock. Do you have video surveillance from that day?" He blinked. "May I ask why?" "The bracelet was purchased under false identity. I'm trying to confirm who signed for it." He hesitated, then motioned me to follow him to the back counter. He tapped the screen behind the register and typed in the transaction number. A few seconds later, he pulled up a digital receipt. My breath caught. There it was again. My name. Heather Taylor. Handwritten in the buyer signature field. "But this was a cash purchase," I said. "Why would they need a signature?" He explained. "For high-value cash purchases, we sometimes require ID confirmation, in case the item is later returned. It's rare, but it's policy." "Did they show ID?" He clicked once more. "Yes, there's a scanned license on file." I braced myself, and then he turned the screen. It was my face, my old license photo. Cropped, fuzzy, but undeniably mine. "That's not real," I said. "That license expired over a year ago. I shredded it." He frowned. "It passed our scan check. They made a copy. They used my name. Again." I'm so sorry, Ms. Taylor. Can I get a printout of this file? I'll need it for legal action." He nodded quickly, printing 2 copies. We'll cooperate fully with any investigation. I took the papers, slipped them into my folder with the forged DMV form. 2 forgeries, 2 signatures, same pattern. Back outside, the city air tasted metallic. I walked to the nearest bench, opened my phone and began building a digital folder. One titled, "They Used My Name." Because now this wasn't just about my car or my money. It was about erasure, identity theft, intent, and someone was choreographing all of it. It happened at the bank. I went in to flag the check withdrawal that funded the jewelry store purchase. The teller was different this time. An older man with precise movements and sharp eyes. When I handed him the transaction number, he pulled up the details quietly. "There's a voice verification attached," he said, tilting the monitor. "Cash withdrawal over $1,000, triggers automatic ID and call recording." I blinked. "You recorded the call?" He nodded. "Would you like to hear it?" I hesitated. My stomach twisted. "Yes." He tapped the speaker, and then I heard it. A woman's voice, calm, confident, familiar. "Yes, this is Heather Taylor. I'm authorizing the withdrawal. It's for a family gift." My jaw tightened. It sounded exactly like me. But I'd never said those words. Not on any call, not in any context. "That's not me," I said. The teller paused the audio. It was routed from a local number, one tied to a family plan, listed under a different Taylor, Emily Taylor. "Can you send that audio to your fraud division?" I asked. "I already have," he said, "but it'll go faster if you file a direct claim." "Want to do that now?" I nodded. He led me to a side room with a glass door and a secure portal. I filled out the form, attached every document I'd collected. The insurance file, the forged DMV registration, the jewelry receipt. Then I added the voice clip. "Do you want to leave a note with the claim?" the teller asked. "Yes." I typed, "This is not my voice," but it was made to sound like me. Whoever submitted this is using deepfake tools, old ID scans, and family access to impersonate me. I want full legal investigation. The teller glanced at it. "That's serious language." "So is identity theft," I said. Outside, I sat on the steps of the bank and let the world spin. This wasn't amateur fraud anymore. This was calculated. They hadn't just taken things from me. They had rebuilt me. In a version that signed, smiled, and said yes when I wasn't even in the room. They'd hollowed me out and filled the shell with their own permission. I hadn't touched Sarah's phone since the funeral. It sat in the bottom drawer of my desk, battery dead, screen cracked. Like a part of her I wasn't ready to power back on. But that changed the second I heard my own voice faked in a bank authorization call. I dug it out, charged it, and waited. When it finally powered up, the background photo hit me like a wave. The 2 of us in graduation gowns, her arm around my neck, my eyes still wide with belief in the world. That version of me didn't know what was coming. The lock screen was still her usual code. I typed it, 0428, her birthday. It opened. I wasn't looking for memories, I was looking for evidence. I went straight to the voicemail app. Most were spam. Medical appointment reminders, school loan calls, but one stood out, saved, not deleted, not flagged. "Voicemail 10 days before death." I hit play. There was a pause, static, then her voice, shaky, urgent. "Heather, listen. I don't know if I'm paranoid, but your mum's been coming by. Not like usual. Weird questions. About your car. About if you'd ever change your name back. Said something about needing a photo of your old ID just in case." I told her no, obviously, but she left one of those USB drives here. I didn't touch it. "Just thought you should know. Love you." My heart slammed against my ribs. The ID, the voice, the forged files. Sarah had seen it coming. Or part of it. And now I had proof that my own mother initiated it. Not just Emily. Not just Kimberly. Mom. She'd always played soft, passive, smiling in the corner while Dad took the heat. But this time, she didn't just watch. She planned. I opened the photos folder. Scrolled back 10 days before Sarah's death. And there it was. A blurry photo of a silver USB on Sarah's desk. I knew that desk. I'd helped her build it during finals week. That USB wasn't there when I came to clean her apartment after the service, which meant someone took it. Someone new. I saved the voicemail, forwarded it to the fraud folder. Then I opened a blank document. At the top I wrote Involvement Index and started listing names: Mom, Dad, Emily, Kimberly, Dale, and now Sarah, but not as a betrayer, as the first person who tried to warn me. They hadn't just erased my car or my records, they tried to erase the one person who knew how they were doing it. Sarah's voicemail had rewired something in me. I wasn't Heather the griever anymore. I wasn't even Heather the daughter. I was Heather the investigator, the one who didn't stop until truth left fingerprints. I took the photo of the USB to Sarah's former landlord and asked if any maintenance logs had been filed around the time Sarah said my mum visited. She pulled out a binder, 2 entries, one for a leaky pipe, one marked electric check, tenant absent, entered with permission. Date, 3 days after the voicemail, authorized by Deborah Taylor, my mother. She had keys, she used them. She entered Sarah's apartment alone, and whatever was on that USB, she took it. I stared at the log for a full minute before making my next stop. Dad's workplace. He was still on the board of a regional contracting firm. I'd interned there for one summer, just long enough to remember the front desk's lax security. I wore a blazer and carried a clipboard. "Hi, I'm following up on internal IT asset verifications," I told the receptionist. "Just need a quick look at login terminal logs from last quarter." She didn't even blink. "You'll want Terry. Down the hall, first door on the right." Terry, the aging IT coordinator, looked up with surprise but not suspicion. "Routine audit," I said again. "Part of legal compliance. Just need to see which external USBs were plugged in on March 17th. Only if you've got access clearance." I showed him an old ID badge from my internship. He scanned it, surprisingly still valid. He pulled up the logs. There it was. Device, silver USB. Timestamp, March 17th, 3:42 p.m. Logged in. At Office 306. User, David Taylor, my father. I didn't flinch. I just asked one more question. "Can I see what was copied?" Terry hesitated. Then he showed the data transfer log, copied folders. Heather TID voice samples Tythio 9. Insurance form scan. Old license backup. My throat tightened. They had been planning this for years, not just a reaction to Sarah's death, not a heat-of-the-moment crime. They'd saved my ID, my voice samples from voicemail, even my old insurance forms. They'd waited for the right moment. And when grief made me vulnerable, when I was at a funeral, weeping over the only person who still believed in me, they struck. I printed the log. Terry gave me a side glance but said nothing. Outside, I walked past the firm's sign without blinking. And this time, I didn't feel sad. I felt surgical. They wanted to erase me? Good, let them try. Because I'd just uncovered the entire system. And now I was going to burn it to the ground. There's a switch in grief. When you stop asking why they did it and start deciding what you'll do next. I filed the first legal freeze that afternoon. It took 3 hours, 2 notarized affidavits, and every document I'd collected. But by sundown, my financial identity, accounts, assets, DMV access, was sealed. No new transactions, no withdrawals, no claims. Anyone trying to move my money or property now would trigger alerts and investigations. I'd tied every thread to fraud flags. Next, I filed an identity restoration case. They'd tried to rebuild me from scraps. Voice, signature, old records. So I was giving the system something newer, stronger, verified. And just in time, because I had one more play. A bait transaction. I went to a boutique dealership just outside the city, a place known for cash offers and quiet deals. I met with the manager, showed him my DMV file and the forgery report. "I need to list a car for sale under my name," I said, "but not really sell it. Just post it. Make it seem like I'm cashing out." He looked skeptical. I pulled out a printout of the forged registration, the fake bank signature and the copied USB log. His eyebrows lifted. "You're setting a trap." "No," I said. "I'm exposing one." He nodded once. By morning, the listing was live. A 2017 Civic, tagged as urgent seller, final offer, Heather Taylor contact only. listed with a burner number tied to a tracer app. If they tried to impersonate me again, to grab what they thought was the final asset I hadn't locked, they'd walk right into it. And they did. 3 hours later, a message pinged the burner phone. "Hi, Heather. Ready to make the transfer? Same bank as before?" Same bank, same voice, same lie. I didn't answer. I forwarded it to the investigator tied to my ID case, along with the bank timestamps, the audio clip, and Sarah's saved voicemail. Then I waited. It didn't take long. The next day, I got a call from the Federal Fraud Liaison. "We've confirmed synthetic impersonation, linked to device usage at your father's workplace, and a cash for ID transfer at a known laundering point." He paused. "And Ms. Taylor, you might want to be home when the mail arrives." A final notice was sent to the address tied to the transaction, but it's addressed to the wrong Heather. I smiled. Let them open it. Let them see what it looks like when a daughter learns to turn silence into strategy. They arrived first. Mum, in a pale sweater like she hadn't weaponized grief 6 months ago. Dad, stiff-jawed, pretending the courthouse wasn't real. Emily in sunglasses, hiding behind practiced shame. Kimberly and Dale, whispering like this was a social call. But the moment they saw who stepped out behind me, silence. 2 attorneys. One from the Identity Restoration Agency, the other from Financial Crimes Enforcement, and me. No makeup, no apology, just the real Heather Taylor. In full. The courtroom wasn't dramatic, small, wood-panelled, more beige than judgment, but when the judge read the case number and saw my father's name listed as Associated Login Party, the air changed. "I understand there are multiple threads involved," the judge said. "Ms. Taylor, proceed." I stood. My voice didn't shake. "Your Honour, over the last 6 months, my identity has been falsified to claim my car, my bank funds, and my name. Voice recordings, signature forgeries, and stolen documents have been used, all while I was grieving the loss of my best friend. The fraud originated within my immediate family, and I have proof." One by one, I handed the documents to the clerk. The forged DMV registration, the jewellery store receipt with my name in someone else's handwriting, the audio from the bank, the USB log from my dad's office, and Sarah's voicemail. The judge played it aloud. The courtroom went still. That was her voice, her warning, proof she knew, and that she was ignored, or worse, silenced. I looked straight at my mom. She didn't blink. The prosecutor read the fraud findings next. Devices traced, signatures matched, IP logs confirming timing, photos of the bracelet on Kimberly's wrist, dated the same day my dad submitted the insurance claim in my name. It was no longer theory. It was systematized theft, built on access, trust, and a daughter they thought wouldn't notice. But I had noticed. I just waited until they were done burying me, so I could drag every single one of them into the light. Then the judge looked at them. No one spoke, not even Dad. The woman who once told me grief wasn't an excuse for emotion. Wouldn't even lift her eyes now. I didn't need an apology. I didn't even want one. I just needed them to see me, not as a ghost or liability, but as the person who ended their illusion. When the gavel came down, it echoed louder than it should have. Frozen accounts, civil suit approved, criminal inquiry pending, and a sentence I'll never forget. Your voice was stolen. This court restores it. I didn't bring flowers. I brought the truth. It was raining lightly when I stepped out of the cab, the kind of cold drizzle that sticks to your collar and seeps into your bones. But it felt appropriate, like the sky finally understood what the rest of them refused to. Sarah's grave was near the back, under a crooked oak tree. I could still hear her laugh whenever I passed that spot. She always said the shade made it feel like the cemetery had secrets. She was right. I knelt, pulled my coat tighter, and set the phone on the small headstone. Then I played the message. Her voice crackled through the speaker, that same low urgency. That bravery disguised as a casual warning. The way she said, "Just thought you should know. Love you." I let it play twice, because the world needed to hear her. Even if it was just me and the wind and the soaked leaves. "She saved me," I whispered. And she did. Sarah saw what they were planning before I ever dared to. She sounded the alarm even while fighting her own battles. And I didn't get to say thank you, not the way she deserved. But this was my thank you. Because now, the people who erased me couldn't walk 2 steps without hearing her voice, embedded in court records and investigative files. Now, her words would echo longer than their silence. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the bracelet, the one they bought with my stolen name. I held it for a long moment, then I unclasped it and wrapped it around the bouquet holder by her stone. "They thought it was a trophy," I said. "Now it's yours." I stood slowly, not because I wanted to leave, but because she would have told me it was time. There was no revenge left to take, only truth to carry. And that truth, that impossible powerful thread of voice and instinct and love, had survived every forgery, every theft, every silence. I walked back through the wet grass, past the graves of people I didn't know, past families still intact, lives still honest, and I realized something. They didn't just fail to steal my name. They failed to understand that my name never made me who I was. Sarah knew. She saw me. And in the end, I saw her too, clearer than ever.